Good morning, Malacañang Press Corps. Happy Monday. Let's now have Presidential Spokesperson Salvador Panelo.
Good morning, beautiful friends and handsome gentlemen. But before that, I'd like to make a clarification. No? There is an intrigue going around that Secretary Alan Cayetano has been fired. I think one columnist is trying to intrigue. That's not true. He really resigned because he wants to run for Congress. Now we invited Secretary Manny Piñol so that he will update us with the latest on the rice issue. Good morning, Mr. Secretary. Can you join us? Please. So you can address your queries to the good secretary here. But before that, I think, since I saw already Secretary Harry, kanina pa ka namin natin, we will call first Secretary Harry para he will give his valedictory address, his farewell. He's running for the Senate, and I'm going to help him to the hill.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Sal Panelo. And of course, I'd like to thank all the members of the Malacañang Press Corps for a productive almost 1 year. I assumed this office convinced that our services were valuable because the people do have the right to freedom of information, which is a corollary to the right to freedom of expression. We tried our very best to afford the people this right. And of course, we may have had misgivings, we may have had shortcomings, all of which I assume full responsibility for and apologize. No? This is not the end of our public career. As I have told my staff, we were already in public service before Malacañang. Malacañang was a continuation of our public service, and we move on no, to serve the people. I'd like to correct the statement of Secretary Sal Panelo. I had a conversation with President Duterte last night, right after the book launch of President FDR, and I am taking the advice of the President. While it was always my intention to file a certificate of candidacy for the position of Senate, I will actually file tomorrow a certificate of nomination for party list under Luntian Pilipinas party list, which is an environmental party list group. No? I will be the first nominee, and I will have Ms. Shara Soto as my second nominee. And of course, the choice of running for an environmental party list was influenced largely by developments that happened, of course, in Itogon, as well as events that happened in Mactan, and the President's unrelenting desire to protect the environment. No? If you recall, the President has repeatedly said that he wants open pit mining closed, and this will be the advocacy that we will be pushing in Congress. No? I could not actually end my short stint as presidential spokesperson without saying goodbye to the stakeholders who enabled me somehow to succeed in my endeavors. Without your cooperation, I would not have succeeded in whatever way that I succeeded. And I look forward to working with all of you because, as I said, I simply refuse to vanish into the night. So with that, I'd like to wish my successor, Secretary Sal Panelo, all the very best. And to all members of the Malacañang Press Corps, this is a temporary 30. You will see Harry Roque bounce back into public life. Okay. So again, thank you very much, and may our paths cross again.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Roque. May question
My
ba?
final bow. May questions
May
pa pala.
question, Pia.
Okay, sige.
Pia Gutierrez.
Sir, could you tell us, ano po yung napag-usapan niyo ni President Duterte?
I took his advice that the best option right now is to go back to Congress, which really was one of my options. Maskip talaga ang Senado. We have 7 re-electionists and 5 cab-backing senators, no, in addition to the new faces. No? And finance, as I said, has always been a hindrance. No? So Anyway, when I was in Congress, I had 16 months in Congress. I had almost all of the bills of national significance as passed. No, I'm talking about, of course, I'm very proud of my universal health care, which I passed as early as August of last year before I transferred to Malacañang. There's the free irrigation, there's the free lunch program, and now the amendment to the HIV/AIDS law, no, including the free tuition. So it really does not matter if I go to the House or to the Senate. It's something that I had proved that with determination and with dedication, no, that we can in fact carry out our obligations and our functions as legislators, be it in Congress or in the Senate.
But sir, I understand that you're still included in the lineup of PDP Laban. Wouldn't that, in a way, answer your problem on resources or campaigning for senator?
No, well, I do have a CONA, and I wish to thank the PDP Laban for the trust and confidence in me. I also wish to thank NUP because the NUP also issued a CONA. And of course, I'd like to thank both President Rodrigo Roque Duterte and Mayor Sara Duterte because I was also included in the Hugpong list. No? But the decision really to go for Congress is an advice which I took, and it's an advice that perfectly makes sense given the limitations on resources.
Okay,
Last na lang, sir. Sir, you mentioned before na ang plano talaga is for you to stay as a presidential spokesman for at least a year and then prepare you for to run for senator. Do you have any regrets? Do you feel that President Duterte did not, parang hindi niya sinunod yung pinangako niya sa
Not at
inyo?
all. I'm surprised why there's talk about supposedly, being dropped at the end of the day. There really was no such thing because, well, I could get flack for it, but I've always intended to file a certificate of candidacy for this year's elections. The president knew it, I knew it. So if there was a change in plan, well, it was the offer to become press secretary, which completely came unexpected, and for which I'm very much grateful and flattered. But it's very difficult to change plans when you have your eyes set on it and when you have basically devoted and time and effort towards realization of that plan. No? So it's different when you, of course, have your own individual mandate. And if I have to say, I really tried to do the best that I could for the job, knowing that it was time-bound, no? So it's difficult not to have your own personality, especially when you're highly opinionated, such as myself. So an elective mandate will again, no, entail expressing my own views, espousing my own solutions to the many problems of the nation.
okay. Friendly reminder, MPC, limit your questions. We still have Secretary Piñol. Celerina.
Good morning, sir. Sir, you have mentioned before when you were still the press secretary, some policies na parang yung mga stance nyo before na hindi nyo na ngayon stance. So, will you revert back to that stance? Like, for instance, sa comfort women and others? Na
Of
naging
course, that's
controversial?
part of the decision when I made the decision to go back and seek my own elective mandate.
So,
It's time to be my own person again.
so meaning you would push for your advocacies before?
Yes, nothing has changed. I'm now back to the old person that I was. I knew that as a spokesperson, I had no personal views. That period has ended. No? I'm able now to freely advocate for the many issues that are close to my heart.
Even, sir, it would go against the position of the administration?
Well, from the very beginning, even before I was recruited for spokesperson, I had to ask the president, you do know that I voted against the death penalty? And he said, yes. No? So that was no problem. Because as a pro, I knew that my personal opinions would not matter since I would have to be advocating the position only of the president.
Okay, Joyce.
Sir, just to follow up lang, you mentioned that kinonsider ninyo yung advice ni President sa inyo, and one of his advice actually is for you to stay in the cabinet and be the press secretary. So can you walk us through how you made this decision? Hindi po ba naging consideration yung press secretary, and why did you choose to run as a representative than taking?
Well, actually, I was very much surprised but flattered when the offer came. But I was surprised because I thought it was clear to both of us that I was running in this year's elections. No? Um, and I was surprised that the offer came for press secretary. I do not know if it is still the best option. I don't know what will happen, but I do know it came as by way of recommendation from some senators in the Senate who wanted to give PCOO a zero budget. No, so it was also daunting. I did not think that I was the best person for that job because I really am not from the press. No, being a spokesperson can be different from being a press secretary because you would have to head all the state information infrastructure, including an actual TV station, an actual news agency, an actual news bureau. And I never had any experience really as a journalist. So to me, it was a very good offer for which I'm grateful, but it's really a post that I did not feel I had adequate training for. That's the truth.
Okay, last three, Raymond, Ina, and Ace.
Sir, so you separated ways with the president in good terms and in
Very
good
good
spirits.
terms. Very
And,
good terms.
Yeah, lastly, so you mentioned that we will be back to your old self. So do you have any regrets being the spokesperson or in one way or the other during your almost a year stint as the or presidential spokesperson?
None at all, because as I said, it was my intention to serve the people by serving the president, and I think I was able to do that. I was able to send and communicate to the people the achievements as well as the goals of the Duterte administration. And yes, it was a pleasure also to defend the president against his detractors, because it is my firm conviction that anyone who has been given a democratic mandate must not only be respected, but must be supported. And I have absolutely no regrets as far as that's concerned. It remains my conviction.
Thank you, sir, and good luck.
Okay, Ace. And Ina. Last Ina.
Sec, yung survey results, was it a factor?
Definitely. I knew that it would be a very difficult climb to the Senate if I were to persist. My problem too was we had 3 consecutive surveys, and only the awareness was increasing, not the conversion. So it was really a hard reality to accept that perhaps we need to do more to convince the people that we are worthy for the Senate.
Kasi you're mas kilala ka bilang human rights advocate. Now you're shifting to environment advocacy. What makes you qualified?
Well, you know, the environment is a matter of human rights. In fact, without the environment, without ecology, we would not have life, no, that would enable the realization of all other rights.
Okay.
So ano yung background nyo regarding that sa environment? Meron kayong mga experience. Can you give us information about it?
Yes, in fact, as director of the Institute of International Legal Studies in UP, international environmental law was one of our focus, no? So aside from having filed the very first writ of kalikasan issued by the Supreme Court to prevent the reclamation of 54 hectares in Katiklan, we also had a test case to sue the biggest emitters of carbon monoxide because of Yolanda, no? Because it's called climate change litigation. No? So that's still an ongoing project where we have residents of Yolanda suing British Petroleum and Shell for tort because we're arguing that their emissions is responsible for climate change, which is responsible for the damages suffered by Yolanda. No? And in the next few days, we will be initiating cases also for incidents involving Benguet as well as Cebu.
Thank you, Sec.
Ina.
Sir, can you just expound a little bit more doon po sa sinabi nyo nga na it's time to be your own person again, you're back to the old person that you were. Can you give us maybe instances in the past where you didn't feel like you were yourself? Does this also mean that you're okay now to maybe criticize some actions of the administration or the president? Because it would seem that you started last night when you referred to the president's kissing incident in Korea as inappropriate, which is something you did not say before.
Yes, let me put that in context, no, because it was asked. Think of an instance where the president did something which you thought was inappropriate, and I answered correctly. I mean, and honestly, that I thought the kissing scene was a bit too much. Something that was observed also by Mayor Sara, no? And I think by many others. But of course, that was taped, no? At the time it was taped, I did not know what I was actually going to do. But I just had to be candid because it was a question. And as I said, I never lie. But maybe that's why press secretary would not be apt for me, because whether I like it or not, I'm also very candid with my responses. Now, I don't think that will be repeated. I do not know if the president thought it was inappropriate, but I don't think that incident would be repeated at all for the remainder of the term.
Okay, but you issuing such yung mga ganyang criticisms on the president's actions, is that something we can expect from you now?
Well, you see, the president, when he got me, made it clear that I was a critic and doesn't care. His words were, I don't care. He doesn't care if you're a friend or enemy. He speaks his mind. And the president says, I'd like him to remain that way. So it was different when I was a spokesperson because there was no distinction between myself and his personality. So I had to be very restrained. No? But even as my own person, I think the president has always respected who I am and would respect, instances wherein I may have criticisms because he knows I do not seek to overthrow him. No? I only want the best for this administration because his success means a success for the entire Filipino people.
Okay, thank you, Ina. Can we now have presidential
Okay,
spokesperson?
so ladies and gentlemen, goodbye. It's a 30. Yeah, I will bow.
Ladies and
Bye-bye.
gentlemen, can we rise and give this man our appreciation?
Thank you, thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Roque.
Thank you.
May we call now Secretary Manny Piñon? Give us a briefing.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. First, I would like to explain that agriculture is a unique endeavor. And in the Philippines, actually, we have an irregular and anomalous farm-to-market system. When I say seasonality, people complained of very high prices of vegetables. But you have to understand that vegetables are grown in remote areas like the Cordillera, where if typhoons would come, would be affected by, damaged roads, inability of our farmers to bring the produce to the market. But now that the typhoons are gone, farmers are complaining that vegetable prices have gone down. Also, fish. A lot of uproar was made following the decision of the Department of Agriculture to bring in imported galunggong. This was not a knee-jerk reaction. This was part of a fish conservation program that was started in 2015 by the people of Zamboanga. You see, we have overfished our seas to the point that the people of Zamboanga, the fishermen of Zamboanga in 2015, decided that to make fishing sustainable, they have to declare a closed fishing season. That starts from November up to February. Now, during the closed fishing season, the fishermen are prohibited from using nets to catch pelagic fish species like galunggong, mackerel, tamban. And the experiment actually worked well in Zamboanga because after they implemented the closed fishing season every year, the big fish started to come in because the small fish, the rule of the sea is that kung nasaan yung maliit na isda, nandun yung malaking isda. Yan ang kumakain ng maliit na isda. So bumalik yung mga tamban, bumalik yung malaking isda. In the case of rice, actually, and the increase, the abnormal increase in the price of rice, it's both the issue of seasonality and the issue of the failure of the NFA Council and the NFA in the past to agree on what mode of importation to use. in bringing in imported rice. You see, we have what we call the lean months. Pagdating sa bigas, meron tayong lean months. And these are the months of July, August, and September. Ito yung mga panahon na walang harvest. So dapat, since we are still importing about 7% of our total rice requirements in the country, and by the way, let me emphasize that in 2017, we harvested the highest harvest in the history of this country, 19.28 million metric tons. That's 1.6 million metric tons higher than the 2016 harvest. But just the same, dahil na-delay yung importation, dapat dumating yung importation during the lean months. Hindi nakapag-desisyon yung NFA at NFA Council, na-delay, nung mawala yung NFA rice sa merkado, speculators came in and, manipulated the prices. Nung tumaas yung presyo sa merkado, yung mga traders namili ng mahal na palay sa farmers to be able to, exploit the situation. To the point that the only way we could stabilize the rice situation, supply and price in the market, was to bring in imported rice. Today, the NFA has approved 750,000 metric tons additional importation. And by the end of this year, we will have a buffer stock good for 134 days coming into 2019. So there is a danger actually that we might have an oversupply of rice. And that is precisely the reason why the NFA last Tuesday launched a buffer stocking program in Mindoro, and we will start buying farmers' produce to protect them from plummeting prices of palay. In fact, I received complaints from Nueva Ecija na ngayon bumagsak na from a high of 25, bumagsak na sa 16 pesos yung presyo ng palay. So, to protect the farmers, the NFA will be starting a local procurement program. We will focus on the local procurement program now since sufficient na naman yung ating importation. And the local procurement will form part of our buffer stocks for 2019. When do we expect the stabilization of the price of rice in the market? Starting in the market, actually. In fact, I was in Iloilo last week, and the millers there are starting to sell their rice at 36 pesos per kilo. But by the end of this October, last week of October, we will be instituting reforms in the rice marketing industry. Number one, we have agreed in the NFA Council, and we have had 2 meetings already since it was returned to DA, that starting this week or at the latest next week, yung binebentang bigas sa merkado would already be clearly identified as Philippine rice or imported rice. Kasi dati-dati, hinahalo-halo yan. And imported rice is being passed off as fancy rice. So binebenta ng mahal. What made things worse was in the past, the NFA actually allowed the importation of fancy rice, yung 5% broken. So even if they bring in a lot of imported rice, hindi nagbago yung presyo ng merkado. In fact, it affected the price in the market because yung 5% broken is considered premium rice. And they were selling this at 55 pesos to 60 pesos. So even if we bring in a shipload of imported rice, kung puro fancy rice ang pumapasok, hindi na mababa yung presyo. So now we have come up with a policy. The importation now will only be 25% broken. And that would be sold at about 38 pesos per kilo. That's the only way. So ngayon, starting next week, makikita nyo na sa palengke, i-identify na. Ito, local rice. Ito, imported rice. Also, we will do away with the deception in the marketing of rice in the market. Matagal ng reklamo ito. Merong nagbebenta ng sinandomeng, dinorado na hindi naman totoo, may super angelica, may yummy. We will eliminate all of those. We will simplify the identification of rice according to their broken percentage. Regular milled rice, well-milled rice, premium rice, and special rice. Yung special rice, yun yung mga jasmine, organic, yung heirloom rice ng Cordillera, yung totoong dinorado. And regular meal will be sold at about 38 pesos. Yung well-milled will be between 40 to 42 pesos. And yung premium rice, siguro mga 44 pesos. The stakeholders of the rice industry will be meeting on October 18 to set the SRP for rice. And let me emphasize that there was never any instance in this whole period of problems with the prices of rice in the market. There was never any instance that we ran out of rice. There was never any rice shortage. Because rice shortage could be defined as, having money to buy, but there is no rice to buy. Ang problema natin actually, naging abnormal yung presyohan sa merkado, which was what happened to our chicken. Ngayon, nagrereklamo yung mga chicken growers natin kasi bumagsak yung presyo ng farm gate. Pero sa merkado, mahal pa rin. Ito yung isang malaking problema namin sa agriculture, yung law of supply and demand. Actually, ang supply hindi hawak ng farmer, hawak ng middleman at saka trader na may pera. At sila yung nagko-control ng presyo sa merkado. So to address this, the DA has implemented a program called DA Chanda, where we bring farmers to key areas all over the country, or rather, all over Metro Manila. Yesterday, nasa Taguig kami, and we were selling premium rice at 39 pesos. Yung mga gulay napakabura. And in one day, yung Taguig Chenda Malasakit store grossed about 3.1 million pesos in one day. And also yesterday, nag-agree yung Taguig at saka yung grupo ng mga farmers sa Tarlac na mag-tie up sila. So ang Taguig now will establish what they call bigasan ng bayan in populated areas of Taguig. Ang Tarlac farmers will be engaged in a memorandum of agreement. Sila ay magsusupply ng bigas at ibebenta ng City of Taguig at a very low price. Kami naman sa DA, we will give incentives to the farmers. We will provide them with farm machinery and equipment and even the loaning program para makapag-deliver sila. Ang kagandahan nito, yung Taguig ngayon, magiging stable yung kanilang rice supply, pati presyo. On the farmer side, magiging stable naman yung income ng mga farmers kasi merong nakaset na presyo na bilihan. So these are the developments right now in the agriculture industry. And the problems that we have had over the last few weeks, we consider these as temporary distractions. We have a roadmap for all of the commodities that we are involved with, and we will not be distracted by these momentary problems. Thank you.
MPC question, Raymond Tinasa.
Hi, sir. Good noon. Sir, pero yung DA Chenda natin, it seems to me na parang for a short term kasi and in a limited kasi hindi lahat may access to that place or particular market. So when can we do away permanently with these tulisan traders na para on a normal day-to-day operations, yung presyuhan talaga hindi masyadong malaki yung gap from farm gate price to the market?
You know, when I was a young boy growing up in the province, we had this weekly tienda market. No? In my hometown in Blang, it was Saturday. And every Saturday, the farmers would bring their pineapple to the market. This is the very same concept that we are reintroducing right now. This could be sustainable depending sa participation ng LGUs. That's why we are actually inviting LGUs to participate in this program because we could supply them, but they have to manage the tienda in their area. At hindi pwedeng araw-araw eh. Kasi hindi rin namin kakayanin, hindi rin kakayanin ng mga farmers. Dapat weekends lang. Pang-stabilize lang talaga ito ng presyo. But if the LGUs would like to do it, no, on a continuing basis, we could supply them with the needs that the food commodities that they need.
Kasi ang pinakamalaking problema, kasi sa mga provinces, that still exists eh. Like sa amin sa Ilocos, Monday, Thursday. So that still exists yung ganyang style. Pero ang problema dito sa Metro Manila na they depend the supplies from Baguio City, from Calabarzon. So how do we plan to make this a normal day-to-day na sa Metro Manila?
Well, organized na yung ating mga farmers ngayon. Ang kailangan na namin is a positive response from the LGUs. And we're happy that Taguig and Muntinlupa actually, no? Mas nauna yung Muntinlupa. Sila yung nag-partner sa amin. And ngayon Taguig, we're inviting other LGUs to participate in this program because we have the goods to supply them. Ang kailangan na namin outlets para madirekta ng ating mga farmers sa kamangingisda yung kanilang produkto.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ian Cruz.
Sec, Good morning. To sum it up, sa last week na October, stabilize na po ba ang presyo ng bigas?
Yes, we will set the SRPs to already on, on the last week of October. And on October 18, that's a Thursday, magmi-meeting ang rice stakeholders. We will meet in my office in Quezon City. At iseset na namin yung SRP ng bawat klase ng bigas.
Bakit po nyo masiset na ngayon? Marami na, okay na ba yung supply natin, Sec?
Yes, it's the harvest season. In fact, sabi ko nga kanina, nagsabay-sabay yung pagpasok ng imported rice and the harvest season to the point na nagbabagsakan na ngayon ang presyo ng palay. At ang nagrereklamo naman ngayon farmer. Dati nagrereklamo consumer dahil mataas ang presyo ng bigas. Ngayon nagrereklamo naman ang farmer dahil bumabagsak yung presyo ng palay. Yeah, that's a problem with agriculture actually. It's like a seesaw, no? It's difficult to keep it balanced. You may favor the consumers and displease the farmers. You know, ito yung hindi nakita nung karamihan no nag-criticize doon sa mataas na presyo ng bigas. But it was during this period when the rice farmers of the country actually made the best income actually. You could ask the farmers. For the first time in their lives, nakatikim sila ng presyo, umabot ng 30 pesos. First time yun. Kaya lang hindi natin napapansin masyado yun kasi ang reklamo nga doon sa mataas na presyo ng bigas sa merkado.
Sir, can you just expound po? Bakit po kailangan lagyan na ng label ang imported and Philippine rice na ibebenta sa merkado? Bakit po ganun?
Because dapat ang imported rice mas mura sa local rice. Kaya ang ginagawa ng dati, hinahalo yung imported rice sa local rice para makakuman ng mataas na presyo. So we really have to classify it, no? At yung decision ng NFA na ipagbawal na ang importation ng fancy rice or premium rice actually is part of our efforts to bring down the price of imported rice. Kasi pag fancy rice ang in-import nila, maski gaano pa karaming imported rice ang bibilhin natin, hindi natin maibaba yung presyo. Kasi ibebenta nila ng 55, 60 pesos. That's the reason why nung sinabi nung ating mga ibang economic managers na pag nag-import tayo, nag-import, bababa ng 7 pesos ang presyo ng bigas. Nung makita ko yung first day ng pag-transfer ng NFA sa DA, actually umikot ako ng palengke. At nakita ko na ang binebenta nila ng 58, 60 pesos yung mga jasmine, imported rice. So talagang pag ano, ng bentahan, pag premium rice ang binenta, maski imported pa yan, the price of rice in the market will never go down. So kailangan nating baguhin yung policy na yan. Hindi na pwedeng mag-import ng fancy rice, kundi Filipino farmers na lang mag-produce ng fancy rice.
Okay, Henry, sandali lang, tanong ko lang, baka makalimutan ko. Patanong po ni Rose Novenario, kung totoo daw po na nagkasigawan sina Secretary Piñol at Secretary Dominguez sa cabinet meeting last October 8 dahil daw po sa rice issue.
You know, I don't think it's proper for me to discuss anything that transpires during the cabinet meetings. Because whatever we do there is part of, you know, the exercise that we do. Exchange of ideas, minsan siguro magtataasan ng boses, but that doesn't mean to say na magkakaaway kami. It's just differences in ideas.
Henry?
Secretary, yun hong bigasan ng bayan, existing pa ba ho yan at saan-saan pa ho meron yan? Kasi may mga nagtatanong sa mga, lalo yung mga liblib na lugar na wala na po silang nabibilhan ng bigas sa mga bigasan bayan.
Actually, itong bigasan ng bayan, nag-umpisa ito nung pinatawag ni Presidente yung mga rice traders at saka rice millers. This was April of 2018. And this was the time na na-delay yung importation ng NFA. And the traders and millers from Isabela, actually, and other parts of Luzon, committed that they could sell rice at 39 pesos per kilo. It's still ongoing, pero nung tumaas talaga yung presyo, medyo kumonti yung kanilang supply. And but right now, there are still groups, yung agris, for example, there are still groups selling rice at 39 pesos. Pero ito, imported rice na, hindi na yung local rice. Pero kahapon sa Taguig, a group of rice farmers from Tarlac actually sold the rice at 39 pesos. At magandang klaseng bigas ang binibenta nila, yung RC160, which is actually one of the best local rice varieties that we have.
Sa nationwide do, marami pang lalo sa mga liblib na lugar, Secretary, may mga ganito pa rin ba?
Alam mo, nakakapagtataka, sa mga probinsya, tumaas din yung presyo ng bigas. Ngayon pa lang bumababa yung presyo ng bigas actually, dahil tag-ani na. And sabi ko nga, ito yung seasonality ng bigas. Kapag off-harvest season, talagang tumataas yung presyo ng bigas. Kapag harvest season naman, buwabagsak yung presyo ng palay. At minsan sinasabayan din ng bigas o minsan hindi rin.
All right, thank you.
Okay, last 2 question na tayo. Ace and Ina. Ina muna.
Sec, you mentioned earlier yung SRP i-release na last week of October. Because Yusek Castelo was here last week and meron na siyang binigay na presyo. I was just wondering if these are the same prices that na-approve for the SRP that will be released in October. Regular milled 39, well milled 42, whole grain 45, fancy 50.
Oh, that will be validated on October 18. Yun yung mga figures na diniscuss namin.
So
But those are not yet the SRPs for the different kinds of rice that we will sell in the market.
Okay.
The exact pricing of SRPs will be determined on October 18 when we will be meeting for the final time with the stakeholders of the rice industry. Kasama na yung mga farmers dyan, traders, millers, and others, and even the rice retailers.
Okay. I guess it goes without saying also, sir, na kapag nirelease na yung SRP, ang makikita na lang po ng consumer sa palengke ay itong categories of rice.
Yes.
No more yung ibang
No more.
pangalan.
Pwede mong lagyan sa ilalim, halimbawa, regular milled rice. Pwede mong lagyan sa ilalim RC222 or halimbawa IR64. Pero ang title talaga ng bigas mo is regular milled rice. And then you have well milled rice. And then you have premium rice. And then special rice. Kasi ang daming pangalan na nahihilo yung mga tao sa pangalan At saka hindi naman totoong merong sinandoming na variety. At saka wala namang yummy rice, ano yun, hamburger.
Lastly, sir, can you clarify once and for all yung sinasabing, yung una pong inanunsyo dito na unimpeded rice importation? What role really, or does the NFA still have a role doon sa importation ng bigas na sinabi po din dito, kahit sino pwede na pong mag-import?
You know, I do not want to discredit the statement of Secretary Roque because I think it was Secretary Roque who used the words unimpeded importation. But to be truthful and factual, I think we could refer to the minutes of the cabinet meeting. The President never used the words unimpeded importation. Indeed, he said, let's flood the market with rice. But to say that importation will be unimpeded would mean like throwing away all of the rules in the book and allowing just about everybody to load rice in the boat and bring it to the Philippines. The President is a lawyer, and he knows the meaning of the word unimpeded. And again, I will refer you all to the minutes of the cabinet meeting. And I can assure you that those words were never uttered by the President. But he directed us to make sure that there would be sufficient rice supply. Sabi niya, di baling mag-umapaw sa bodega. Di baling sumobra, wag lang kumulang. Those were the statement of the President. And I fully understand the essence of the statement of the President. Kaya gusto ko liwanagin yan. Walang words na ganung ginamit ng Pangulo. Yung unimpeded importation. Kasi kinakabahan yung ating mga farmers Kasi pag sinabi mong unimpeded importation, you throw away all the rules and guidelines to the waste basket and just bring in rice. No? We will come up with the guidelines as directed by the President. But this will all be based on what is legal and what is prescribed in the law. You cannot just say that NFA will have no more role because in the importation, because that would effectively throw away the mandate of NFA into the waste basket. Luluagan namin yung importation, pero meron pa rin mga prosesong susundin.
Specifically, sinabi ni Secretary Roque, no more need to secure accreditation from the NFA. Is that right?
That cannot be.
Okay.
Because under the law, it's still NFA will accredit the importers.
Sorry, Ate Roque. So is it right to say, Secretary, that for now, it's still AO13, yung
Yes.
latest
Basically,
directive on it?
that was the essence of the statement of the President. It was just a
Reiteration
reiteration of his statement. In fact, yung pagdating niya from Bali, he again mentioned that na kailangan naming paluwagan pa. And we are doing it. In fact, we have approved the proposal of DTI. Ang DTI na proposal, napakaganda. Nag-partner sila with a private group, pero mayroong deed of undertaking. na papayagan namin sila mag-import ng bigas, we will give them an allocation of 350,000 metric tons that they could bring in, provided they sell the rice at no more than 38 pesos per kilo. So ito yung mga reforms na ginagawa natin ngayon. And also I will ask for the review of the issuances of import permits to groups who end up selling the import permits kasi wala naman silang perang pambili ng imported rice. Ang ginagawa nila, pag nanalo sila sa bidding, binebenta din lang yung mga lisensya. We will reform this actually.
Okay. And lastly, sir, it's been a month since AO 13 was issued. When can we expect the guidelines that you said will be
Actually, you have
released?
already set the guidelines. Pero kung gusto pa ng Presidente luwagan, magmi-meeting uli kami. Third meeting namin, hopefully by next week, no? O Monday next week, magmi-meeting uli ang NFA Council for the third time in less than a month.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
Ace. Okay. Si RJ na lang. We still have
Oh, by the way, I
Secretary
know
Panelo.
that there are farmers in the Malacañang press corps. I received a lot of inquiries kanina. Kung gusto niyo magtanim, meron kaming bigyan niyo lang yung number niyo, patatawagan namin kayo. And by the way, let me just guide you. Meron tayong available na guide map ngayon sa internet, no? It's farmersguidemap.gov.ph. If you want to know what crop is suitable in your farm, you just go to that website and you can access it. It will tell you what crop should be planted in your specific area.
Okay, last question, RJ.
Sir, Secretary Roque was discussing about the full liberalization of rice importation. That's why he used the word unimpeded. So it was never tackled during the cabinet meeting?
No, it was tackled, but the president never used the word unimpeded.
But the full liberalization
Oh,
of
yes.
rice importation,
Yes.
what does that mean?
Full liberalization means you allow importation to come in, but still based on guidelines as prescribed by law.
But according to Harry Roque, it meant that NFA will no longer have the license to license or regulate traders.
Then they have to amend the NFA mandate. You have to amend the law that created NFA.
So how do you describe Sir Roca's statement?
No, as I've said, siguro medyo nape-pressure din lang siya sa mga question nyo. Kaya yung sinisisi niya, tanong kayo ng tanong about rice prices. Yun ang sasabi niya sa cabinet meeting. Yun ang sabi niya sa cabinet meeting namin na tuwing nag-press briefing siya, tinatanong siya palagi about sa bigas. Kaya sabi niya, pwede bang sagutin na natin to? And it was he actually who used the words unimpeded importation.
Okay, thank you.
Para lang I do not mean to discredit Secretary Roque. Masyado lang excited siguro. Emotional lang yung mama siguro. Pero let me put things in their proper perspective. The president never used the word unimpeded importation because that would be a disservice and injustice to the Filipino farmers.
Okay, maraming salamat,
Thank you.
Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Baka naman ang ibig lang sabihin ng mga unimpeded, kasi dati stricto, di ba? Dati may mga allocation. Niliberalize yun. Yan ang mga ibig sabihin nun.
Okay, BC, have questions for Ina. I'm sorry.
Ian?
Ayan.
Secretary,
Oo nga.
si Senator Grace po sinasabi niya na bakit daw ang isususpend na tranche ng train law ay yung next year, yung second. Dapat daw yung ngayon na yung isususpend yung in effect today kasi nga mas mataas na nga daw ang mga presyo ng langis po.
I think that question should be addressed to our economic managers. Yung kanilang decision, I think, is based on studies. So, we have to defer to them.
Question, MPC. Bernadette. Microphone yan.
But sir, did the president already make up his mind about this recommendation po from the economic managers to suspend the next tranche of excise tax po on fuel?
Yes, the fact that they made an announcement for that is a validation.
So are you saying, sir, na magkakaroon po tayo ng parang document or order stating that
Oh,
the
certainly,
president
yes.
accepts the economic manager's recommendation po?
Yes.
Sir, kailan po nakapag-decide si president about it po, sir?
I don't know when, but the economic managers made that announcement. So I presume that they talked with him immediately prior to the announcement.
I think, sir, nagkaroon daw po ng meeting sa Bali po, recommendation po ng economic managers kay President. So, right there and then po ba did the President make
I
up
was
his
not
mind?
present during that meeting.
The
I
president...
was not present during
you
that
were
meeting.
not present po.
So I have no personal knowledge on that.
Pero sir, yung pag-accept ni President nung position na economic managers, kailan po niya na-communicate sa inyo po?
The economic managers made the announcement, I think yesterday only, huh? And so when I was asked whether the president has already made such an announcement, I said the fact alone that the economic managers made the announcement is already a confirmation that the president
Okay,
did
sir.
so.
Sige, sir. Thank you po.
Celerina, microphone please. Ian.
Pero sir, meron na ba talagang formal announcement? Kasi parang yesterday, parang mga haka-haka pa lang na first it was SAPGO who mentioned that, and then merong correction, and then eto naman si Yusek or Asek Lambino naman quoting SAPGO. So apparently merong confusion. Meron ba talaga or wala?
There will be a paper documenting that.
Kasi
Antayin
as
natin
of
yan.
now, wala po eh. Even the DOF, they did not issue yet any official statement regarding that kasi I was asking yesterday for the official statement. And apparently, there's none.
Lalabas na yun, siguro in the process of issuing that.
So there's really a decision to suspend the excise
Oh,
tax on oil
definitely there is
for
a
next
decision.
year.
In fact, it was even the president who made that announcement.
Okay, RJ.
Sir, the NOW or Now Telecom said they want the president to manage third telco selection. And they want the bids to be presented on November 7 to the president himself because they believe the president has the moral ascendancy to choose the most deserving candidate. Is the president open to this?
Again, will you please repeat your question again?
It's the Now Telecom company said.
Now?
Yes.
Telecom?
Yeah. They said they want the president to manage third telco selection. They want the bids to be presented on November 7 to the president himself because they believe the president has the moral ascendancy to choose the most deserving candidate. Is the president open to this?
What the president said during the cabinet meeting is, if there is no decision yet, then he will take over.
Mm-hmm.
That is what he said. Because there has been complaints that it has been delayed.
Mm-hmm.
That is why they said, the president, if by November, wala pa yan, I'll take over. That was taken during the tete-a-tete interview.
So we expect by December we already have the third telco.
Hopefully, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, questions, MPC? Ace?
Secretary Panelo, clarification. So the palace is not amenable for now dun sa proposal ni Senator Poe?
That?
Yung suspension ng fuel tax, oil, excise taxes.
Hindi pa natin alam nga, kasasabi niyo lang ni Senator Grace. Let's see, I will ask the president on that.
But definitely there will be yung paper, will it be a memorandum ba suspending the increase?
Most likely, syempre, kailangan mayroong document.
Wala
suspending
pang time frame kung kailan.
Wala pa.
Wala pa po. Okay.
I will ask ES. ES ang ano dyan in charge.
Thank you, Sec.
Last question na tayo. Celerina.
Sir, would it suffice for the president to just issue an AOREO regarding that suspension, considering that it's stated in the law that there's some requisites in order to suspend that excise tax?
Yeah, the law provides for a suspension clause if the president feels that it has to be suspended.
Even if it did not reach the 80 peso for 3 consecutive months?
I think so, yes. He will, because that was already his decision.
Okay, thank you. Ace.
Okay, follow up lang doon, Sec. Kasi di ba nasa law dapat yung average 3 months? October pa lang ngayon. So, paano kasi may forecast yung DOF na baka daw hindi bumaba sa $80 per barrel. So, ibig sabihin, yung suspension ba mangyayari kapag kahit hindi na-meet yung conditions na yon? Kasi nag-declare na tayo ng early announcement ng suspension.
If I'm not mistaken, I just watched Secretary Pernia, yun yung sinasabi niya. Parang kahit na hindi ma-reach, tutuloy. Yun ang pagkaintindi ko kanina, nakakita ko sa TV kanina.
So kahit hindi ma-breach yung 80 dan sa 3 months, itutuloy yung suspension.
I'll check on that, para sigurado tayo. I'll check on that.
Thank you, Sec.
Okay, Ina, last question.
Hi, Sec. The President said that he will visit Boracay kapag i-distribute na po yung land there. Can you give us an update on the status of that directive of the President na put under land reform yung Boracay? What directives or ano po ang ginagawa ng DAR if it is the concerned agency handling it?
Wala pa. I'll have to meet with them pa. I will respond to your question when I'm being briefed with that.
Just to be clear, is it DAR, sir, or DNR? Ano bang agency ang handling that directive?
Both departments will be involved. DAR and DNR.
And how soon could the land be distributed, as what the President is saying?
I'll ask the secretaries of both departments. Meet kami.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. No more questions? Okay, thank you, Presidential
Thank
Spokesperson Salvador Panelo. Thank you, Malacañang Press Corps. Back to our main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and People's Television Network.